So Phil, is Ethernet the future technology for storage?
The short and simple answer is yes, but you have to say yes, but there's a huge investment in traditional storage area network technologies like fibre channel, and that isn't going away anytime soon. And the fibre channel vendors are increasing the speed of their storage up to 40 megs and beyond. So I think ultimately though, all the storage area vendor community is committed to converged enhanced Ethernet as being the ultimate replacement for block storage types of structures, because it overcomes all the reasons why fibre channel was invented in the first place, which was because Ethernet wasn't delivering a fast enough transfer in terms of lossless, scalable and non-blocking switching. Ethernet can now do that. So basically the reason why fibre channel was invented in the first place has now disappeared. And if you use Ethernet for connecting together your processors, your I/O and your storage, then it simplifies the whole switching architecture, which will make it much cheaper and easier to manage. So in short, the answer is yes, Ethernet is the future of storage, but don't expect these other techniques like fibre channel to disappear anytime soon. It's going to be a long, slow, lingering death, I think.
So my understanding is that requires some new standards for Ethernet. Where are we with those standards?
So there's two standards that are involved in terms of moving traditional block storage onto an Ethernet network. The first is converged enhanced Ethernet, and that's what allows Ethernet to be a lossless environment, which is the kind of quality that you would expect in a fibre channel environment, where there's bandwidth reservation before traffic is sent. That standard then enables fibre channel over Ethernet, a second standard, to actually allow you to take block storage and attach it directly to an Ethernet network, and then connect to your servers instead of having a fibre channel SAN dedicated for that function. But that's not the only way to have Ethernet enable a storage environment, right? There's NAS head ends that connect directly to Ethernet, and there's some forecasts in the market. I don't know Forrester's view on this, that NAS will actually outgrow or outpace the growth of block storage, and part of that's because of multimedia. A lot of video production is stored on file-based storage, network-attached devices, and there's a lot of audio files that are all stored in that format. And then there's iSCSI, and I think that the attention that FCOE has driven in the marketplace with Ethernet for a storage network is really kind of garnered some attention again for iSCSI, because those standards have been in place for a while. It's a little bit more proven. There's some certification, interoperability that's been done, and that can enable somebody to do something very practical right now and again reduce their costs, because that's one of the things Ethernet's proven to do is make things less expensive to deploy.
Well, I would agree with that. Being able to get to a unified fabric within the data center is a large cost savings. And you're right, as we see 10 gig Ethernet become the standard default connectivity method inside the data center over the next few years, the speed issue starts to go away. And even in our own processing environment, where we're obviously challenged to process a lot of our data in real time, we've already made the decision that any kind of persistent store can't be in the trade path. So once you accept the fact that you can't do persistent store regardless, well then that persistent store for record keeping can in fact run a little bit behind. So that opens up the door for things like network attached storage, etc., which gives you quite a bit of cost savings.
I think we're seeing the whole structure of storage changing. We're seeing more directly attached storage on the processor cards. We're certainly seeing a rapid growth in iSCSI storage, and we're seeing a lot of interest in network attached storage. But essentially that's the sort of technology side of it. In terms of the processes, it's about how do we stop this huge doubling of storage every year, which is killing every CIO's budget, and looking at automatic relegation of any files that haven't been looked at for 30 days onto second tier and third tier storage to push it out into cheaper and cheaper storage all the time. And that is really, encouraging a whole raft of new technologies to be brought in alongside that very expensive fibre channel SAN.
Yeah, and one of the things that you talked about earlier being unstoppable, virtualization. What's your experience so far in terms of the effect of virtualization on storage? Because one of the things that I've seen in talking to a lot of customers is the more they virtualize their compute plane, the more their storage requirements go up because they've got more of these virtual machines booting from storage, and the storage requirement is growing as a result. So is that consistent with what you see?
I think, if you go to the conferences, you listen to the storage vendors, they're all talking of virtualization of storage, but it's a very new technology. There are very few enterprises that have really engaged with storage virtualization seriously at the moment. So that's really the next challenge, which is how to address the impact of virtualization of servers on the whole storage environment.
So I've got a question actually. With virtualization, one of the opportunities is migration of applications between different sites. How does the storage fit in with that? Because clearly moving large amounts of data between sites becomes a massive challenge.
I think it's early days at the moment. I mean, the promise of using vMotion to use virtual machine transfers, not just within a data center, but to a backup data center over a flat LAN between the data centers on fiber or VPLS. I mean, that's really quite exciting. But as you say, the challenge is the storage gets left behind, and so you've got to deal with the migration of the storage as well as the virtual machine. And at the moment, there are quite separate processes in place which deal with the replication of storage in remote sites. And the vendors like VMware are coming up with tools and processes for getting the storage and the processes in step. But again, it's early days, but it's looking quite interesting and promising.